talk to us a bit about how practical that will be for you.
Thank you so much, Eugene. First and foremost, I really thank you for letting us talk about this. This topic of integrating our scholars' intellectual capital into the economic mainstream is extremely critical. If we are going to move as an economic bloc, especially looking at Eastern and Central Africa, then it is important we build essential capacity that is required for this economic growth. And education, especially university education, at very high level is critical. Most of the developed economies thrive on mass production of critical human capital that is required for the different sectors. And for this reason, in 2015, the World Bank, in partnership with the government in Eastern and Central region of Africa, agreed to work together to empower and set up centers of excellence. And 24 of them have been set up. For example, at Jaramogi Odinga University of Science and Technology, which I am currently the Vice Chancellor, we are establishing a center of excellence on sustainable use of edible insects for food and feeds. This is a rare opportunity to not only do the normal conventional things, but to create, innovate, and be productive, and look at ways and means of filling the gap in terms of food and nutrition security. Fortunately for our president and our country, food and nutrition security has been earmarked as
among the Big Four agenda.
The Big Four agenda.
Now, I understand that there are definitely specific areas that are of focus. Indeed, you've alluded to the fact that agriculture is one of those areas, and this edible insects is very interesting. But of course, talk to us a bit about the expectations of these higher learning institutions or these centers of excellence churning out graduates who are able to meet the relevant required skills in the job market, because that has always been the headache for many higher learning institutions. Every time we churn out new graduates, but they are not able to actually meet what the market is expecting out of them.
For sure, there's a lot of expectation. And even just to take that food and nutrition security or agricultural sector, we do not have the critical mass, especially at PhD level and masters, that can populate and even churn out policy and work with the citizenry for increasing agricultural production. But if you look at even the industrial sector, for example, we have got centers which are dealing with purely extractive industry. And this one, we are also lagging behind. If you look at textile, one of our centers in the 24, based in Moi, Eldoret, is looking at textile and chemical addition to the textile industry and renewable energy. This, we need critical manpower if we are going to really compete with economies like China. And even here in Rwanda, we have got one of the centers working on aspects of sharpening the delivery in terms of university education. And all these are important for our next generation.
The next generation. Prof, the worry is when are we going to have this people that you talk of being, given these skills, this knowledge? Because most of the time the argument has been that we are consumers mostly of scientific studies, scientific research, scientific innovations from the Western nations. When are we going to be the ones who are going to be inventing things that they will be also taking in their lives?
Eugene, the good news is most of these, our 24 centers, have already admitted masters and PhDs that are already aligned within the projects. And anticipatedly, we hope that in the next 4 to 5 years, we shall be having a new stream of PhDs coming out to help with further university education, research centers, and even government policy mainstream in terms of sharpening what we need to do as a bloc. So it is not far-fetched. But the good news also is that at least there is a target, the specific, all these centers are given what we call a framework of result-based delivery. upon which then the financing flows in.
So it is like a contractual kind of commitment. You commit that we will deliver this before this financing streams in.
Exactly. So if you get even 20 PhDs graduated, of course with quality assurance being topmost, then you get also funded.
Right. So let's talk about this funding, because the 5-year project is actually financed by the World Bank to a tune of $140 million. How does this work?
Yeah, so out of this, you find that for each center of excellence, a center would receive $6 million US. So 24 of them would be receiving to that tune, each one of them. But we have also ICA, that is Council of East African, Inter-University Council of East Africa, that is the used as, or is the base upon which regional facilitative unit is based, and that oversees on behalf of the World Bank certain assurance aspects in terms of quality delivery and also in terms of quality, and also in terms of verification when it comes to performance. The World Bank has assigned IUCA that responsibility to oversee
and ensure that what has been promised to be delivered is being delivered before the money is actually given out.
Absolutely.
So where do we go from here in terms of the expected results in the next, let's say, 5 years to come? Where do you expect the region to be as far as this contribution from these centers of excellence?
The Eastern and Southern African region has been lagging behind compared even to West Africa. And we want to be quite close to, or even better than West Africa. And therefore, we believe that if we can give these 24 centers a chance, you can see that each one of them, if we could produce even, say like even 20 PhDs every year in the next 5 years, the number is quite big. For bigger centers, the bigger universities which have been there for a long time, they may even produce more PhDs, but in various disciplines. The center may be, like in our case, INSEFood. We are talking of INSEFood, but there are several value chain within the INSEFood. There is the bit of social aspect, so that we can also populate that insects are another alternative source of food.
Of food and nutrients.
And then for feeds, for even our fish in the lake.
Sure.
Yeah, like now we are also looking at black soldier fly, which we can use to feed the fish, and it's good feed for the fish, and therefore we can even restock that lake, which is a big lake in this region.
A lot of interesting things are happening, Prof, but unfortunately this is where we definitely have to end this particular conversation. We'll definitely be catching up more on these ones and more. Thank you so much for making time to speak to CNBC Africa today.
Thank you so much, and we welcome you to all our 24 centers.
Thank you so much.